I do want to start this podcast by saying shout out to Aunt Sue. Mom, speaking of food, because that's what we're talking about.
Oh, boy.
She made what can only be described as the best Reuben I have ever eaten in my entire life. The other day on Sunday, we golfed. We golfed, got to meet Garrett, who's Tom's grandson. Super nice kid. We golfed. I played okay. I wouldn't say I was great, but I didn't completely embarrass the family name. Then we go over to Aunt Sue's. Mom, I couldn't even, I've had a lot of Reubens in my life from different places, everywhere. Mom, this was the freaking best Reuben I've ever had, to the point where I had to lay down because my stomach was so full. Mom, I have never had a Reuben that good with the Thousand Island. It was delicious.
Oh,
unbelievable. So,
what did she use? Corned beef or pastrami?
Mom, and what corned beef? Stupid question, Mom.
Pastrami?
Well, I learned a bunch of things. This is for the Reuben. I should have a food podcast with Aunt Sue. That's what we need. Anyway, with the Reuben, so rye bread, she puts the butter in the pan to basically get the best crisp possible. Corned beef. Now, this is what I learned that I've never done before with sauerkraut. Sauerkraut, because it's been sitting in vinegar for so long, you're supposed to wash it out. So you put it in a strainer and wash it out. I've never done that. So the ratios for like the how strong it is, or how overpowering is probably the right word. How overpowering it is, because you rinse it in water, it takes that overpowering vinegar taste out of it. Because I like sauerkraut, but not a crazy amount. Excuse me. Also, I think I went through all of her Swiss cheese. I don't even like Swiss cheese. That's how good this Reuben was. I owe her like a pound.
You're gonna weigh 500 pounds pretty soon. You really are.
No, it would. If anything, Ma, it would have been worth it because it was such a goddamn good Reuben. But.
All right, well, she'll have to make one when we come down, or when Dad comes down.
Absolutely.
He likes Reuben.
I was going to tell. I'd have to tell Dad that when I talk to him, but that was
Reuben.
That was the biggest highlight of my week. You know, I know
when we were little, we would get sauerkraut, right? My aunt, my grandmother would buy sauerkraut. So who would think anything about sauerkraut? It was never, they never ate it right out of the jar. They always did something to it. I don't know if they did what Susan did, but next thing I knew, that it would be in a pot with the peppercorns and something else bubbling away for an hour on the stove. So you never just had sauerkraut out of a jar like we eat today, and throw it on a hot dog.
I don't think anyone. Yeah, if you're, I'm gonna say this right now. If you're eating sauerkraut out the fucking jar, you should be right in prison. In prison. Okay, good. I was going to say.
You do it too when you're making the Reubens here. You just open the set, put it on there.
Right, and you put it on.
My relatives never did that. They always had to do something to it. Either maybe they rinsed it like Susan does. Maybe that's where she learned it. But it always was in a pot with the peppercorns. And I'm like, why can't you just go get the sauerkraut? Oh, no, you can't get sauerkraut from the store. You buy it in the jar, and then you have to make the sauerkraut. I never learned how to do it because I don't care that much.
Don't you mean, so wait, you mean they get the cabbage and make it themselves, or?
They could, but I'm saying if they went and bought a can of sauerkraut, because you could buy it in the vegetable section, right? For the average person like me, you open up the can and you make your hot dog and you put the sauerkraut, mustard, and all that stuff on.
Right.
Oh no, that was never good enough. They had to take that sauerkraut and turn it into sauerkraut.
Oh, gotcha. Make it better.
Peppercorns and stuff, and they would boil it. Like, what the hell? Just eat it out. No. But I have to say, their sauerkraut was good. It was just, for me, it's like, I don't need to do all that stuff for sauerkraut. And I'm not even sure what they did. I just know they never ate out of a jar or can.
I just realized our viewers who are not of German descent probably don't even know what the hell sauerkraut is. But I believe it's fermented cabbage, right? It's kind of like how you pickle cucumbers, like to make a pickle. Yeah. It's the same concept, but you do it with cabbage instead.
White cabbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's delicious, but again, if you're eating it out of the jar, you're going straight to hell.
It was also the nickname for every German in the 1940s.
The sauerkrauts. The krauts.
Sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Sauerkraut.
Yeah. Huh. But yeah, that was the highlight of my week. Then everything else is just sadness because I can't cook for shit. I use the air fryer a lot. I make a lot of chicken, ground beef, but yeah, I eat pretty healthy for the most part. And
Well,
then when I
Mike hasn't been here for 2 days, and each night I said to Dad, "What do you want for dinner? Something light." So we used to when you weren't here. Tonight, what do you want for dinner? Something light. Okay, what does that mean? Do you want pizza? Do you want a calzone? I'm going down the list. Finally goes, as you know, don't worry about me.
Too many options, Dad just gets overwhelmed.
That he's like, I just want to, like, what does light mean? We didn't have lettuce. He had lettuce. So I went downstairs and I wound up making crab cakes with the fixins, because you know me. I don't just eat the plain.
And what was Dad like? This is not enough.
No, I thought it was thawing out a salmon steak. Turns out it was a small piece of London broil. I'm like, well, damn, what am I going to do with this now? So I cooked that on the cooker. So Dad wound up having a burrito when he came downstairs because I had the fixins for a burrito. But my point is, I'm like, it doesn't help me when you say, I don't care. I want something light, because now I'm making 2 meals.
Yeah, now we've screwed it up. It's almost like you need Mike just to get it together.
Well, I'm just going to make a meal from now on, whether Dad wants it or not.
Mike told me you guys had Chinese food the other day, and I was mad. I was like, you guys don't get Chinese food unless I'm there.
You know where we went? The place next to Il Forno.
Oh, really? How's that place?
It's nothing. It's okay,
Yeah, that's some fake.
Mike tell you we went to DeLuca's Pizza.
Oh, okay. So DeLuca's Pizza, for those of you that don't know, DeLuca's Pizza is kind of by our house, right? That's in Somerville or whatever. Dave Portnoy from Barstool rated that like one of, if not the best pizza in the state or in the country, I mean. Yeah. So guys, if you order a pie, it takes like a week to get it to you. It's ridiculous.
No, it was 3 hours.
3 hours, not bad.
You can't get through on the phone. I only preface that because we wound up driving. I said, come on, let's just go at 4 o'clock, because they take like a 2-hour break. And they even tell you, we stopped making the pies at, 7:30, because you have to cool down the oven, so we need the last half hour, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Like they're the only brick oven pizza in the world, but okay. We went at around 4:01. We called at 3:57. It was busy. We get there at 4:01. They have a sign outside that says there will be a 3-hour wait. So we get in.
Thanks, Dave Portnoy.
We ordered 2 because naturally I'm like, oh, if this is that good and it takes 3 hours, let's order 2 just in case it's really good. We ordered 2 pizzas. It was like $38 for 2 pizzas.
That's not. Can I tell you real fast? So our place down the street, Sarah's Pizza. Shout out to Sarah's Pizza. They have something that's like an extra large pizza. Each one of those is like $35, and it's not much bigger than a large. So that's what I mean. Now, given we're not in the mecca of pizza, so maybe it's a supply and demand sort of deal. But go ahead. So you get 2 pizzas for $38.
And come pick it up at 7:10.
Now, how does this compare to El Forno's, which is our family restaurant? Like size-wise, same size, usual?
Well, let me finish the story.
Okay. I'm sorry.
We're talking about the Chinese food. So now, if you know the setup to get to DeLuca's, you got to go straight down that road, Raritan, from the circle. We parked, we go in, we come out. Now you go to a light. You can't easily turn around. You'd have to take the Somerville Circle to go home. So Mike and I go the long way, but now we're starving. We're thinking we're getting a pie by 5 and we're eating.
Oh, no.
So I said, Mike, let's stop off at the Chinese food place that I've been wanting to try. And Dad always said, why don't you just go get like an egg roll or something from them and see if they're any good? So we went all the way. Your listeners wouldn't know, but you would understand. We went all the way around by Wegmans, the park, the 4-H park.
So you did. That's a wild route. Oh, my God.
We couldn't turn around easily in Raritan to get back to our house on that main. And it was, think about it, it's like 4 o'clock, the busiest time in that area.
Right, so you had to go Somerville Circle down towards like where Dad gets the bread and stuff?
No, we didn't even do that. We stayed on Country Club, went over 22. We went over 202, and now you go to Raritan, right? It's straight down.
That's such a long route, though.
You can't, if you make a left, you go through Raritan, you get back on 202. I didn't want to go that way because of all the traffic. We made a right. But now you're going all the way down. Remember where you had your track and field sports banquet? Right. So we went all the way down there. We weren't in a rush. It was 4 o'clock. The dog was with us, too. So we go all the way down. Well, was the dog with us? No, we didn't have the dog. All the way down. We go to my Wegmans, blah, blah, blah. So we stopped by El Forno to get, I said, let's try these egg rolls. We go in. We hadn't ordered it. We ordered 3 of them, one for each of us and one for Dad, because Dad said, "Try their egg rolls. If the egg rolls are good, maybe the Chinese food's good."
But we've been there
Good thing.
before. That's where we
No,
used to. That's where we used to go
no,
when Golden Palace shut down. I thought.
no, I don't think so. No, I don't remember ever going. Maybe once a long time ago.
Yeah, we didn't like it because the pork fried rice just was weak ass. Listen, I would have a
What?
feel that you know how Dave Portnoy rates pizzas. I should do Chinese food. That should be my
Yeah,
thing.
you could. Well, let me finish. So we had the egg rolls. That tied us over. We felt a little bit better. It timed out well. Dad came home from his flight.
This is such a sad story.
Yeah, Mike and I went back to go get this pizza. Mike waits in the car. So I'm thinking, because he had to park because the where the location, everything is tough to get parking. And I'm thinking, all right, I have these 2 pizzas. Someone's gonna knock me over the head and take these pizzas because they didn't want to wait 3 hours. Getting crazy over it. So I'm hustling down the street. We managed to turn around and go home. Here's what I'll say. It was a good pizza. Mike gave it like a 7.5. I gave it, like an 8.2. I might have gone a little higher for a couple things. I couldn't order it on the phone, which is a pain in the neck, right? And it's thin crust. I'm not a thin crust person. And it's they burn it because it's a brick oven.
Mhm.
Some people love that.
I'm not a fan
I don't
either.
like that.
I'm a thick
Yeah.
crust kind of guy. Thicker
Right.
the better.
So if you like thin crust pizza, brick oven thin crust, you would probably really like it. Mike said it's okay. Even Dad's like, I'm not making a trip.
Yeah,
3 hours. For
3
this."
hours for Dad likes.
Yeah.
So our father likes Sicilians, and which is essentially, I believe, the American term is Chicago deep dish, right? I think that's the
Sort of,
definition
yeah,
of Sicilian.
It's a thick crust.
Yeah.
And,
So we get from Pizza Brothers, which is our local pizza place. They make
thick.
thick slices, which I actually prefer over regular pizza, or American style. I don't know what you call it. And it's only like $2 more expensive for a large in comparison to a normal large, which is a pretty fair deal considering you're getting a lot more food technically. Like it's kind of the equivalent of like a pie and a half when you add all the dough, all the stuff on it. God forbid you get some sausage on there.
But keep in mind, some people, like when we were reading the instructions, if you're putting in an order and you have to drive more than 2 hours to get here, I looked at Mike. I'm like, are they?
That's how popular Dave Portnoy made that place. So thank God he added a couple more big ones all over the country. There were people coming from like New York, Pennsylvania, like everyone in the area. So
people taking pictures of themselves walking in. I looked at Mike. I go, should we be taking a picture of ourselves? I mean, I guess we're spoiled because we're 3 miles away from the place. And I'm like, all right,
the one lady, lucky, the one guy in the corner, lucky you live down the street. I'm here from Toscana.
It was 7 this morning. I'm still waiting for my pizza.
We took a road trip with the family. Oh, God.
It was insane. So I left it up to Mike, and I think Mike was like, it takes a lot to impress Mike. And he was like, it's okay. It was fine. It's a good pizza, but I wouldn't make a special trip for it. So
yeah, I'd have to.
I said, Mike, let's just put it to bed before you go. If you move south, let's go to Duluth, get it over with. He goes, yeah.
The Lucas.
It's off his bucket list. It's off Mike's New Jersey bucket list.
I think we ordered from there once. Oh, no, we attempted to, and it was just too long. I remember. Yeah, it took too long to get. I have no desire. I'm fine with it.
On the phone after Portnoy's thing. You couldn't even get it on the phone.
Which is ridiculous, but that was like 2 years ago we did that video too. That's how good that place does. And again, for mediocre pizza. But then again, we're also spoiled by the fact that we're in New Jersey and New York, which has some of the best pizza in the country. So to us, the Lucas is just kind of another place. Whereas if you're in Pennsylvania looking for a pizza place, no wonder.
Well, they do have the things all over the walls about voted best in New Jersey by the Star Ledger. And, they definitely have had their share of accolades, not just from Portnoy. But it's a particular type of pizza. If you like a thin crust brick oven pizza, you would like it. For people who prefer thick crust, you're gonna be like, oh, this is no big deal.
Yeah, I'm a thick pizza kind of guy with like 6 C's at least. So yeah, I miss a pizza. We don't really have good pizza here. That one place is The Sarah's pizza is pretty good, but and Sue, our cousin Jordan just graduated from Clemson, and they were coming back and they had a pizza, and I was like, oh, let me give this a shot. And it was delicious. I was like, oh, great. And I realized I'm so deprived because they were like, oh yeah, that's just from the mall down the street. I was like, oh no, my palate.
At Harris Teeter, don't they make pizza?
Yeah, but that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent. I don't know. I haven't tested it. I don't go to Harris Teeter for food.
You should try because I thought Ken said it was pretty good. You know, for a store pizza.
Yeah, maybe.
And he's pretty picky about that stuff.
Yeah.
Mike liked it. He said it was good from Chris's food store.
Chris's food store. The Teat. That's what I call it. The Teat. Yeah, I was there before because I could do some grocery shopping. You know, again, I'll always talk about the deals, but I want you to know that gas here is under $3 now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
We were low for a little bit. We were like $3.11 in New Jersey.
$3.11
for a few days there. $3.17.
Yeah, we're at two.
In New York.
It's $2.42 down the street, but Harris Teeter's $2.99.
That's good.
Yeah, but I noticed that Harris Teeter has to jack the price up a little bit because of the points that they have. So makes sense. I'm not complaining because I have so many points that my gas is essentially free. I'm surprised they haven't figured it out.
Prices are coming down. Vote for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, really? Yeah, that's why.
Gas prices are coming down. We need 4 more years of that, boy.
Yeah. Speaking of Kamala, let's just get right into it, Mother. We'll start with your stuff.
My stuff?
Yeah, we could go with yours.
I had a lot of AI stuff this week.
Yeah, but there were a couple Kamala things.
AI articles.
I'm so bored of politics until the actual election because most of this is he said, she said, and then here's his details. It's mostly like he said, she said, and then all of a sudden. Oh, I see.
Starts tomorrow.
Oh,
that was one of my articles.
Speaking of convention, is that what you want to transition to? We could start with that
They're
one, I
already
guess.
boarding up their businesses in Chicago. It is going to be a shit show, let me tell you.
You think so?
Warnington listeners in Chicago, time to take a 2-week vacation, okay? Get out of town. Get out of Dodge. I think it will be, and I think it will be a sharp contrast to the very placid, calm RNC, but yet somehow they'll try and make comparisons and say it's as bad as the RNC, the rioting at the RNC, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. But yes, I think they're anticipating a real mess because every group is planning on going there to protest. I don't know what. So
yeah, my question is, what do you protest at the? I would get more protesting at the RNC. I don't know why I would have thought that all the protesters were on the DNC side.
Nope. That's the irony. They make it sound like the Republicans are the problem in the country, and meanwhile it's all the pro-Palestine people. They're already planning on going.
Oh, that
makes
sense.
The BLM people talked about being there. The Antifa people talked about going.
So they're not. So it's riots. It's not riots against the DNC. It's just
protests.
Riots.
Yeah. Let me clarify. They're calling it protests. Their version of a protest, let's remember the Summer of Love in Minneapolis, turns into burning buildings down and taking out stores. So let's see what happens. Hopefully it'll remain peaceful, but I doubt it. Even the businesses are already boarding up in anticipation of what's going to happen. So
yeah. I'm just waiting for there's going to be that neo-Nazi riot or protest, whatever you want to call it. I know they're going to be there. It's going to be all FBI agents.
Oh yes, with their little khaki pants.
Yeah, with their little. They're at every single one. No one knows who they are. They do the most damage, and all of a sudden they just disappear. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't know how that happens, but yeah.
Gee, surprise, surprise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll stick some groups in there. There'll probably be some, people out in that area that might counter protest. I don't know. I don't know if the Jewish groups would go.
I would just be surprised if anyone actually shows up to the DNC. I don't think there's very many people that could show up for something like that. Most of them, she struggles to fill. Hold on. There's something I got to take back from last week though, because we talked about the AI. She had that rally thing. I still don't know if that was AI generated or not. Like. I'll see pictures where people will take out the people and be like, oh, this is it. But then I see people add people using AI. Yeah. So as we're going to talk about in a few minutes with the AI, I don't know anymore. Like one of these days I have to physically go to these and just see like what they actually look like. Because I'm just saying.
No, like, I would err on the side of it probably is when in doubt, because she can't even fill an a small auditorium in Raleigh. She had something a couple days ago where she did this whole the price gauge.
Yeah, price gauge.
Yeah. And when they showed the room, there was only like a few dozen people there.
Yeah, and the other question is when they take these pictures, they take them when the concert's about to happen or whoever she has over there, and then when she starts talking, allegedly most of the people leave. So I don't know what to go by anymore. And I don't know if you saw, but Fact Check hit them with apparently Kamala's team is editing Google articles. Like somehow her team has headlines and stuff. Yeah, and they said, yeah, that's true. Which Fact Check, I'm very iffy with Fact Check. I don't know how true it is anymore. I think it's kind of lost a lot of its what's the word I'm looking for? It's
validity, integrity.
Validity, yeah, sure. Just because I don't know who's doing the facts, and I want to know where you're getting your facts from. And if I can't find it, and I'm pretty good about finding stuff, like I'll go into I'm the kind of person where if I'm looking for something, I will go to the 47th page on Google to find my answer, right? Whereas I don't know where Fact Check gets, like who runs that? Soros? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who Fact Checks are.
So that's why it's hard to go by. And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I still think that the concept of just giving the facts is kind of gone. Like I was just looking at Google News before because a lot of times I'll go to Google because it gives you a conglomeration of news outlets all over and then puts it to Google News as like a front page. And every single one is opinion based, not facts. I just want facts of the week. Don't give me your opinion on things that you feel, right?
Well, so much of news today isn't really news. It's all opinion.
It's a shame.
Even the stories that they choose is like a joke.
Exactly.
The Raleigh, North Carolina on Friday, there were 250 people in total there. And I think that included the press.
That can't be right. Like maybe that's true, 250, but even that seems very, very low.
Yeah, there's some on the side, but I think they're also counting the press as well.
Yeah.
There's people behind her on each side, and then there's like 2 rows in the front. But it's pathetic. It's just absolutely pathetic.
Yeah.
So for somebody who, by the way, is technically the incumbent because they've been in office, even though she's the vice president, it's just, you really have to pause when you look at some of this polling. I just don't know where they're getting this polling from. But.
Well, I'll tell you where they get the polling from. All these companies that are doing the polls are in these major cities. They're not going to go out of the major cities to ask questions. They're going to stay in the media-driven cities.
Yeah, or they poll particular areas that tend to lean a certain way, I'm guessing. Or, we're at the point, Chris, where I think they fake stuff. As we saw with these Google articles, right? Who would have thought that you could go manipulate these articles and then post it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what they were doing. So you can't trust anything anymore. But you're back to, let's use some common sense. If she can't even, I got one guy filling a stadium tonight. Everywhere he goes,
not an arena. Yeah.
An arena, right? And the other individual can't even fill a high school gym. Okay, are they purposely not letting people in? That would be ridiculous. Or is it the fact that a lot of people are more interested in seeing one candidate versus the other? I don't know. Common sense, right? If you don't know what to believe from a media perspective. But it is surprising how many more media people are not towing the line 100%. Like they are slightly going away from the grain of what the talking points are. Yeah. And they'll throw something in like, they're ripping her to pieces over this whole price gauging.
Well, there's a lot of things that she's done. This is my problem with all the stuff that I'm seeing about Kamala. And it's not so much, again, we could talk. The thing that Trump definitely has her on is every time she says something, he's just like, where was this 4 years ago when you were in office? So he's going to win just based off that. But my problem with Kamala, besides all the past stuff, is she keeps catering to different audiences. So every time she goes somewhere, she'll say one thing, and then she goes to another place and then changes it completely to cater to that vote. And it's almost like, this is my problem with politicians, and it's the whole think they're above others, or like we don't see this stuff. You just have to look at videos.
It's not the politicians, it's the media. She can do that because the media lets her. They would always try and do that, or they would do it in subtle ways, like they'd do it in an article, but then they'd say something different when they were on TV.
Right.
Nowadays, 24/7, and all platforms get all information, and the one party gets favorable treatment, where they'll beat to a dead horse a Republican if they say something hypocritical, which they do, but yet for somebody like this current VP, she and her running mate, they say the most outrageous things, and it's not even like something they said a few years ago.
Like last week. Yeah, like did you see? They just did a thing. They did like some interview promotional thing, and they were talking about how white people can't season anything. It's funny and it's true, but it's like, what kind of promotional thing is this? Like, honestly, I get it. It's a joke, and again, I've heard that saying before a lot. But it's kind of like that. That's what you want to say. Of all the things you could have said, that's what you wanted. And again, the other one that I saw this week was, did you see that super attractive senator, senator, I think she is, in the Make America Great Again bathing suit?
She's a congresswoman.
Thank you.
Anna Paulina something. Yeah, and it bothers me because I like what I agree with many things in her platform and her policies. And she's young and she's very attractive. Yeah. Similar to like the Lauren Boebert thing, because then immediately there was a picture of her in a bathing suit with her tattoo or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yes, you're attractive. You can wear bathing suit. You can do all that stuff. But have some dignity for the job.
I agree. That's exactly my standpoint. That's why when I saw it, I was like, good for her. I mean, for being in phenomenal shape and looking good, but is that what we want? When other countries see us and look at our politicians and all that, and they see that, especially when we have countries that don't respect women, it gets a little dicey, And
I appreciated her. I could care less about her age, her ethnicity.
Yeah, I don't know.
I appreciate her policies. I appreciate how she presented it. She did some things recently to get a lot of attention. Now you're just pandering when you're doing stuff like that.
This kind of goes back to the whole politicians are too much on social media. Like when we talked about Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and how it's becoming more for social media
AOC,
than it is.
Right? AOC, throw her on there.
Yeah, I think AOC, though, I will give AOC this. I think the Democratic Party, she was like the first person to try and use social media as a platform to reach the younger audience, and it was just like giving her opinion on stuff and things like that. Whereas I feel like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and this one, what's her name? Paulina.
Anna Paulina something.
Anna Paulina.
Something. Another name too.
They have done things that aren't really political, but it's just to raise their standing on social media. Like AOC's not posting bikini photos or bathing suit photos.
No. She's done the Met with the gown. She does her share of stuff. She's of the same mindset of doing. In my opinion, she has no substance. She's all media. I mean, I know it's snobby, but she was a bartender, and they solicited somebody to push as a candidate. It was a committee that picked somebody.
Right.
They picked her out of a hat. She showed up one day and interviewed for the job. I'm not saying that doesn't happen on the other side. I'm just saying normally you try and pick somebody that has a certain degree of intelligence and decorum. We don't even do that anymore. And then when you do have somebody like Anna Paulina Luna, that's her name, Anna Paulina Luna, when you have somebody like that, and I really felt like, hey, good for her, and if social media gets her on the beach someday in a bikini, even better, to see a young, vibrant, but to pander like that, to put yourself out there on social media with the bikini on,
it's a little weird.
It's inappropriate because I feel like, trust me, it's 24/7 with social media. Someone's going to see you on the beach in the bikini with your kids. It's not like or bathing suit. You don't need to be doing it. You're pandering. And I, as an older person, and it's not even because she's young, I just lose a little respect for that.
It's weird because it just doesn't. I understand you should be able to do what you want on social media again, but you have to deal with the repercussions. That's obvious. But when you were talking a seat in Congress, I feel like there is a little bit of, I don't want to say class to it. Like, I think it's stupid that people show up in suits and ties. I feel like that's kind of you're supposed to represent the American people, and most people can't afford $1,000 suits and ties or whatever. So that stuff I don't care about. But the whole, you're like one step away from OnlyFans model right there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And but I do disagree with you. It's an office job that you're going to. You're representing your community.
Sure.
You should be in you don't need tuxedos and ball gowns, that's true. But I don't appreciate, mostly the men will have suits and ties because that's the standard way of dressing. Some of the individuals, especially the women, because they have more flexibility with their wardrobe because they don't have a standard like the men do per se. Some of the stuff I see them wearing, I'm like, it's appalling. I wouldn't wear that to an office, let alone, wearing that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't wear it in front of a Zoom call. And this is what these individuals who are getting paid a very nice salary, by the way, who get all these perks at restaurants and whatnot just from being in their position. And they also run a staff, by the way, of young people. And no, I don't want to have an intern, for instance, roll out of bed in their sweats from college and come to work.
Right. There's a time and a place, right? Time and place for everything. You got to read the room. But what I'm saying is you don't need that $20,000 suit and necklace or whatever that some of these women will wear in Congress. And it's like, but that doesn't represent Chicago or certain places.
Well, but
like
keep
that's
in
what I
mind,
mean.
you have a lot of very wealthy people. Traditionally,
Absolutely.
people who served as our representatives, for better or for worse, were the wealthier people in the community. Right? Or they were the children of the business owners or whatnot who grew up, got their lotteries, and they knew that was going to be their career. So the Senate used to be a lot different than like the House of Representatives, which was more of a local thing and the local person. You do see that, though, when you look in the House of Representatives and even in the Senate. Not everybody's wearing the expensive clothes, but they're still dressed appropriately.
Appropriate. Yes,
right?
that's the word I should have used. I want people to dress appropriately, not be overdressed for things like That's what I meant to say, but you're right. You're right. But speaking of politics, let's just talk about let's go a little deeper into the whole price gouging stuff that she's talking about. So Kamala Harris, one of the big things, again, this is the definition of I don't have a plan, so I'm going to throw shit at the wall until something sticks so I get votes. And then when November comes along, then we can start putting into practice the ones that I want to do, which, let's be honest, every politician has done it. It was kind of like Trump with the wall or cleaning the swamp or whatever it was that was never happened. Stuff like that. This is what that is, right? She talks about the price of living and how it's going up.
Cost of living.
Yeah. What did I say? Price of living? Cost of living. And then the whole idea of I'm going to, day one, I'm going to give people like money towards their first mortgage. I'm going to bring down the prices so that these big company corporations can't dictate the prices of goods. And the problem is it's not thought out, right? Supply and demand is a huge factor. You can't just bring everything low and expect these companies to survive, saying, it's going to help the mom and pop shops. Not really. It's still going to hurt them because it's supply and demand. So this is what I mean by throwing shit at the wall till something sticks.
Hold on, I will disagree with you in this sense. It is very thought out. It's carefully thought out, and it caters to the younger generation that veers more towards socialism and communism. And this is one of the comments that I was surprised how many in the media, like the CNN people and the MSNBC people, some of their panelists who came out and said, this is the stupidest idea ever. It's been done in every communist socialist nation. That's why Venezuela went down the tubes. You can't start doing price controls. That's what communists do.
Yeah.
So, and to the point of what the other candidate is constantly saying, and it is true, and his running mate is, she is even further left of Joe Biden in the sense that she's full on communism. She believes in giving out everything and the government then controlling it. So this is a combination of socialism and communism. So she wants communism in that the government's going to tell these stores what price you're going to sell your goods at. What you wind up doing with that is you have incredible inflation, you kill all competition, and you wind up getting a black market.
Yeah.
It never works. And then subsequently, she wants socialism. So now she's saying we're going to hand everybody $25,000 for a down payment. As many of our listeners from the podcast know, the first question is, and where does she get the money from?
Yeah.
Taxes, right?
Right.
Or they print it, which creates more inflation. So this wonderful idea of we're going to give you 20, and then she's going to build 3 million houses. Okay.
Right,
what many of them are countering with is she was put in charge of doing the EV stations, and they built all of like 3 of them in 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So
funny.
what makes her think she's going to build 3 million in houses? They couldn't even do EV stations, which were supposed to be easier.
This just goes to show me, Ma, and this is the way I see it. Some PR team for her is going, listen, we have 2 months to figure out something here. We don't have a plan. Go out there, kind of throw shit at the fan, and then whichever one sticks based on how likable it is, that's the one we'll stick with when we go into the election in November. That's what this feels like. And you tell me if I'm right or wrong, because
like I said, she's catering to an audience, a specific audience. So the Obama generation, right? So it would be you guys, maybe a little bit older than you, but around that age, have been geared towards socialism is the answer. The government is going to give you all what you need. Come to the government for it. COVID helped with that because the government handed you a check. Here's $1,500. Here's $1,300. It ingrained in in you individuals that this is the way you do it. Let the government pay. But you go back to the same old, the government doesn't make money. It takes your money or prints money. Neither scenario is good for you, the person who wants these perks, right? Mm-hmm. Government taking over something like the food supply. Anyone who's taken a basic economics course will tell you, like you were saying, once you manipulate supply and demand, and the government takes that over, they control it, it always winds up being a black market. Look at Venezuela just 5 years ago. That was a booming economy, and then it became like $50 for a loaf, or 500 pesos for a loaf of bread. That's what happens. But for young people here, oh, good, they're going to bring the prices down. I'm going to vote for her. Oh, good, I'm getting $25,000 down payment on a house, and she's building 3 million of them. She's pandering
just for
again.
BlackRock to take them.
Right. She's pandering to a lower group of people, or to a younger group of people who, and some older ones too, who just can't get ahead.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Instead of saying the economy's the problem. But it always goes back to, then do it now, sweetheart.
Yeah, why didn't you do it 4 years ago when you got into office as vice president? Vice president, right. I think the argument's going to be, well, I was vice president, not president. But people forget that the vice president still has a lot of ability to do stuff like this on their own. Like, look at Biden with Hunter, right? Hunter's now on the chopping block again for being part of those Ukrainian gas companies from when he was vice president. So you can set up a lot of things as vice president. And I think people focus a little too much on what the president does and not enough on what the vice president is able to do. So,
well, some would make the case that Joe Biden was brought in as vice president because of his connections and put in that position for that reason, so he could spread the wealth around. And other people didn't have to get their hands dirty.
Well, it's amazing to me how they're reopening Hunter's case. Like, it's funny, the second you're kind of out of office and on the way out, they just come after you. We knew it was coming. It's just like, it's kind of the ha-ha.
Well, the whole, I think I've said this last time. If you take a step back and look at the big picture, it was traditionally, let's attack Donald Trump, he's a freak show, the family freak show, blah, blah, blah. The Democratic Party right now, I just shake my head. If we had even a slightly unbiased media, it would be a dead party. It's a joke right now.
Oh, yeah.
You had a senile guy in office, and now they're all saying he was senile, they kicked him out. He's ripping Nancy Pelosi to shreds. She was the queen.
Which is funny when what's that black lady's name? That's his press secretary or whatever.
Karen Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, Jean-Pierre. She's like, no, I'm sure they get along fine. And like the next day, Biden's ripping into her. So it's just so funny how you're physically watching or visibly watching the Democrats go at each other now. And it's not just senators, it's the president going at another former high-level congresswoman.
But even, okay, so our vice president, how many times did she come out and say what a great job he's doing? He's a fabulous president. Double down. He knows he's so good. And meanwhile, the country saw that the man has dementia.
Are you talking Jean-Pierre or are you talking Nancy?
No, I'm talking, vice president. I'm talking Kamala Harris.
Okay.
Nobody turns around and says, hey, lady, you were standing telling us how wonderful he is, and now we just watched him. He can't get him through a sentence, and now they can't get him out fast enough as a candidate. And nobody calls her out on that. Not only that, she becomes the candidate.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's amazing to me as a person my age who has gone through so many of these election cycles now and seen, what things they used to call horrendous and bad. Oh, he's done. She's done. This is an absolute circus going on in that party. And I will imagine that we will have a freak show in Chicago with this DNC. And still everybody's going to be like, all's fine. Let's have it.
Well, because they don't have any other option at this point, right? They have to manipulate it to make her the most ideal candidate because who else is going to do it at this point?
The media. That's my point.
Yeah. The media is going to spin it.
Any other time, she'd be dead. This whole, from the Biden a few years ago, tripping on the stairs, they would have laughed this thing out of existence.
Right.
He would have just ridden his time out, or they would have gotten him out or something at this point.
Man.
The fact that the media continues to support this, I don't even know what you call this party, this freak show, right? And meanwhile, I got other candidates still dealing with possibly going to jail in a few weeks. Think about that.
Yeah.
There's a possibility he's going to jail for who knows how long, but on September 19th. They actually think they're going to put that guy in jail and there will be no ramifications for that?
Yeah, that would be insane.
And meanwhile, I've got this circus going on the other side where they've completely thrown out democracy. They're just shuffling primaries around and, okay, now
I have a
turn.
feeling, right? This is how I think it went. And I feel pretty confident in this. I feel like 2 months ago, the Democratic Party was like, okay, great. We got Michelle Obama to put in. She's going to do all these great things. And Michelle was like, I don't want to do it. And they were like, fuck, this is not what we wanted. So they had to basically just say, damn, Kamala's in. Now, here's my question, Mother.
Yeah.
Let's say they invoke the 25th Amendment on Biden and Kamala has to do the rest of his term. Does that count as part of her 4 years? Does that count as a term? Okay, so how's that work? Because I was wondering if they're like, can we count that as a term to get this vice president out of here? Like, I'm wondering if that's kind of like the long-term plan for the Democratic Party.
Well, no, we're past that point. He could drop dead right now and nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, it should, and it should have happened a while ago. And in my opinion, this person shouldn't even be running for office. And that's not just because I don't like their platform. I'm just saying in democracy, it's a freak show, basically.
Right.
So there are rules and regs. I'm not going to speak to say I know exactly what the story would be, but they're not going to do that at this point. We are literally in the home stretch here. I know it seems like ages till November, but early voting starts in some states, I think, in a week or two after this primary. So we're starting the whole election process right now. I think what will probably be the more poignant.
It's so wild to break it down, though. Like, this is our vote right now. This is what we're voting for. We're voting for someone who no one likes, has no plan, and then we're just kind of throwing her into the wind, hoping, oh, it's not Trump, so hopefully she'll win. Then we have the other side, which is this guy actually has a plan. The plan's already been done, but he might be going to prison in 2 weeks.
Taking his plan.
Yeah.
Literally 2 weeks later, she's taking his ideas
the same
and
one,
trying to hand them off as her own.
Well, that's like when Biden got into office and they changed Obamacare, or they put Obamacare back in. It was just the same plan that Trump had from his first term, like almost to a T.
Obamacare came from Obama.
Right.
All I'm saying is it's absurd that we're even at this point, and the ones I blame is the media. They
100%.
Constantly give this party a pass, and now we have a media that is an absolute joke. They can't even save themselves anymore, and unfortunately, I don't believe the polls. I really don't.
I don't either.
I have to have more faith in the American people. That, yes, you still have people out there who just don't think for themselves, who are watching this and refuse to even accept that, well, maybe the other person has something to offer. No, they're never going to do that. That's just how they are, and it's not going to change. That's fine. You always had that. But I don't know how many times people have to watch the same news station after they told you forever that Hunter Biden laptop was a joke, and they're still watching it. The same station that now says
that's like
the Hunter.
That's why I've come to the conclusion that The View is a government project to see how stupid people are and see what they can get away with. I refuse to believe that The View is like an actual show. I think someone's paying Whoopi Goldberg to say some stupid shit because that's all she is.
I just wonder about the audience.
Yeah.
They must never look at, and you know what? If that's all I watched all day, I'd probably feel the same way. That's their news. People get their news from that.
Which is
None
ridiculous.
of the women on there are news people.
Yeah.
None of them. I think maybe one of them dabbled in a little bit. Every now and then they haul somebody out.
And it does make sense.
The cast was Barbara Walters, who was a journalist. She was an original. She started that show.
But it's hilarious. The best part about that show is they'll have like Republicans on thinking, oh, we're going to get this guy. Like they don't realize that even, let's say the lowest, kind of like with like sports, even the lowest level person in there is going to out debate 4 random old ladies that have a show. So it's funny. They just get absolutely starched. So I don't know why that show's still going. I'm surprised they haven't recast everyone.
Because they have the audience and they get the numbers. And the same people, and I don't think they get the numbers. Get their news from The View. And I shake my head going, I can't help those people. Those are the kind of citizens that I say, oh my gosh, if you want to watch The View, fine. I would never say shut something down. I don't believe in censorship. But how could you watch knowing that, they talk about stuff and they say things like, oh, that's an absolute hoax. And then fast forward a year and they're talking about it like it's part of the news. Does anybody remember when they were telling you it was a hoax? So I really have to wonder about the intelligence of some people. And that works both ways. Don't get me wrong. I watch conservative news too sometimes, and I'm like, are they kidding me with this story? What's also interesting too is what some of these shows thinks are important stories. That's also manipulating the media also, right?
Right.
So sometimes you'll hear, usually it's conservative platforms, they'll work the numbers and say how many minutes were spent on the Hunter Biden topic. And you'll have mainstream media, they spent all of like a minute on it, right? But then they talked about Donald Trump's Charlotte's hoax for 10 minutes on every station. So what they consider to be newsworthy, right? That's how they manipulate as well.
Right.
So they don't do a story on Hunter Biden. They'll mention that, oh, somebody's questioning it. But then they'll proceed to talk for 10 minutes about Trump making some hoax up, right?
Right. Now, hey, Mom, explain this to me, though, because I'm not understanding this. So as of July 2024, The View averaged 2.2 million viewers and a 1 point whatever household ranking. Okay, cool. Ranking number 1 daytime talk show news programs. The higher the show today, okay, whatever. But then it says The View also averaged 185,000 women between 25 and 54, and then 135. That doesn't equal 2. So where are they getting this 2 million from? Am I missing something here? Are they talking monthly? Yeah, but if you're only right. But you have 180,000 people watching. Women, so a total of 250,000, almost 300,000. Is that talking per day? So then what's the average 2.2 million?
That's
a month?
I don't know. As of July, they average viewers ranking numbers among talk shows and news programs. It doesn't say.
The numbers are kind of weird here. Why would you tell? So you give me 300,000 people watching.
The View has been the top daytime talk show for 3 consecutive years with an average of 2.7 million viewers in its 24th season and 2.375 million in its 26th
So for the season, that's how much they're averaging.
They average that, I guess, per day.
The fact that that's number 1 just kind of goes to show you how much of a joke mainstream media has kind of become. Like Rogan will get.
Hold on, let me just say something.
Go ahead.
It's women, right? That number represents between the ages of 18 and 54.
Yeah.
Remember, it's in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Who's home in the middle of the day? mostly housewives or mothers
Yeah.
with young children or older women whose husbands. So that is their target audience.
Yeah,
When you
100%.
look in the audience, it's mostly women.
Right.
Okay.
What I'm saying is it's baffling how that it just goes to show you how far TV's fallen in the sense of like for a season you did 2 million. Joe Rogan will post one podcast and that's 10 million right there. So if he does 3 podcasts, like that's ridiculous.
Well, that's what they average on a day. That's not for the whole year.
No. Right. This
The viewers.
2.2 million, right, is
A day.
one season. Okay. Well, even then, that's still
their
pretty bad.
average a day. Because if you look at the next paragraph,
Mom, you're
they
too close to your
average
mic
that.
and you're breaking the.
That's the average 2.24, 2.7 million viewers in its 24th season. So that to me is their average daily viewer.
Okay. So let's say, man, why is it, they said this so weird. 4th consecutive season, number 1. I mean, if it's number 1, that's scary to me, but also I don't know.
Again, it's number 1 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Keep it in context, right? What else is on mainstream television? And I will say, I'm questioning that 18 to whatever age. I think that's a very small number of people.
I don't know anyone that watches The View.
Exactly. Young people don't really watch it. So
Yeah.
I think those numbers are skewed. It's probably weighted heavier towards older women who still watch TV, who watch it in the middle of the day, who may not necessarily work.
I also have
say
to
your moms
believe
aren't at home.
I have to believe they throw that on at the retirement homes too. That's just the running like
Oh, I see them in doctors' offices when I go. They put that on.
that's disgusting.
Well, it's a point of view. It's an opinion show. It's not a news show. They may talk about the news of the day, but it's their opinion about it. I don't know that the average citizen anymore understands the difference because they're not even getting good quality media at night. They're getting garbage. And when you're watching this freight train of a Democratic Party and what's just gone on in the last few months, let alone this man's whole 3 years in office, that they have literally not covered, and then have the audacity to turn around in July and say, we never knew about this. And as a viewer, you should be scratching your head saying, how did you not know? You're the news.
Yeah.
You got to wake up. That and the Hunter Biden and everything else, you better start taking your news a little bit more seriously. I'm starting to say go to social media like the young people do. You got a 50-50 chance of at least getting some news out there, as opposed to what they're pumping in the day. On mainstream TV, you're very rarely getting any sort of news. I'm finding C-SPAN is the only answer anymore. It gives you, just give me the facts.
Yeah.
Let me see what happened on the Senate and on the House of Representatives today, and I'll draw my own conclusions.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to sit and watch C-SPAN except weirdos like me. You know?
All right, let's move on just because we've already done quite a bit. And we have a lot to talk about with the AI stuff. So do you want to talk about let's start with the bad first, the part that it's like, okay, we might be going in a bad direction, right? So the estates of Hollywood icons such as Burt Reynolds, James Dean, and others cloning voices. Now, this article basically is about how the estates are now starting to essentially sell off the voices of these deceased actors and actresses. Was there something specifically you want to talk about? Because we did talk about this already, so I don't know if there's something you want to add.
I'm putting all 3 articles together into one because they're all basically the same topic, but coming at it from different angles.
All 3. I only got 2 from you. What's the third one? I only got 2.
It was 3.
Okay.
11 Labs, they clone the voices of dead celebrities, right? So they take 30 minutes of high quality voice audio, and that can equal a professional voice clone. And many in Hollywood are against it, like Nick Cage. We did that. Nicolas Cage. We talked about that. But this is a great way for the estates of famous people, for now, because as you get older, a lot of young people don't even know who Burt Reynolds is. They may not even know Marilyn Monroe, or James Dean. James Dean was a very short-lived,
but big
actor. He died very young, right? But they had distinctive voices, and they're very in tune, this group, for what it's worth saying. We understand the drama with AI. It's kept within the confines, and the estate is well aware of what we're doing. We don't sell it out. We use it for whatever purposes. Having said that, then you have the AI flops at the Olympics. So they tried to push the AI basically with a tone-deaf marketing. I didn't watch a lot of the Olympics, but when I heard some of this, they tried to replace human emotion, like they used an AI. A young girl used AI to write a letter to one of the athletes to express how much she loved her as an athlete and whatnot. And they just said, it was just pathetic because the girl couldn't write her own emotions. They wanted her to use the AI to do it, which is just ass backwards. They likened it to the disasters such as
did you watch the
Web3.
Let's watch this real fast because I actually haven't seen this. We'll have to cut this out, but I don't know if.
Okay, so now you understand why they're liking this to yet another disaster for AI. Similar to the crypto and the Web3 ads from 2022 Super Bowl, crypto had a bubble burst. It's cyclical, but it turned up being a big dud.
Yeah.
AI has its problems too. It's very costly. There are energy costs, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
They're saying, do you really want to put all your eggs in that basket? Me personally, I see that, and that's the first time I've seen that. That is outright pathetic.
So why do you think it's pathetic? Because I'm going to...
It's insulting to the black community, because she happens to be a young black girl, that she can't write her own letter. She's got to use AI to generate a letter? What, is she stupid? I don't think so. And if you're going to use AI to write about your emotions, which is what it is.
Sure.
She's not writing a research paper on the runner, which is even worse, but... she's writing, oh no, I shouldn't say it's worse because at least that's factual and she's having it write the paper. You're basically saying, let AI think for you and do for you. Now I understand why they're saying it absolutely flopped at the Olympics.
See, my mindset on that one, and maybe, to me, tone deaf, that's not really what was going through my head. My head instantly went, oh, wow, kids will never have to write another essay again. That's how my brain went to that. Because, again, maybe the tone deaf, she could have written it. I think I would assume that the Olympian would appreciate if the girl hand wrote it or whatever, wrote it herself. So I think it is tone deaf in that regard, but...
No, you're saying she absolutely doesn't ever have to read. Not only does she not have to write a research paper, she can't even write her own letter anymore.
Yeah.
Now she's going to have somebody write her feelings. What is she going to write her husband a love letter through AI? Hey, AI, generate a love letter. Generate my wedding vows.
Mom, you're giving me ideas here. You're giving me ideas.
I mean, do you understand how absolutely ridiculous that is?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that. I think, I see it more from the mindset of what can we do with AI. So maybe my technological brain might be going off a little bit instead, which is the whole, hey, you'll never have to write a paper. You'll never have to do 90% of schoolwork anymore. So that's kind of where my brain wanders.
And that's not a good thing.
Agreed.
Because school is supposed to help you think and use your brain as a human being. That's how we came up with things like AI and science.
Mom, you got to move back from your mic because you're breaking your mic.
Going backwards.
She's on a tear.
We're going backward, and now we're saying, guess what? You don't need school. You don't even have to think. You don't even have to write an emotional letter. Okay, totally backfiring. And to add to it, my third one was the Maria Bartiromo interview with the man from Adelphi, I believe is the company. She's interviewing him, and he brings along his AI clone, because that's what they do. They clone individuals. And the laughing part is you watch it.
Oh, I do have
and
this
I didn't
one.
watch the whole thing. You watch it, and the AI does his little thing, and she asks him basically, what do you have to offer? Everything he offers is exactly what a human being's going to do. So I just don't understand what the point of it. Oh, so he can go to meet, if you're doing a book tour, you could send your clone to speak for you at a book tour, and you could be at another meeting. Oh yeah, because that happens to the average citizen all the time that we're on a book tour, and we need an AI clone. But the Adelphi CEO winds up, she interviews him, and if you watch the video, at the end he goes, "Good job, clone. You answered her questions well." Like he's a freaking pet.
Pat on the
You
back.
gotta watch it.
Wow.
You gotta watch.
How long is
and
it?
I look at this and I go, the clone is basically saying what he does is what humans do.
Yeah, interesting. I just want to see how the end of it, I guess.
Clones to take over the world, but I do think they'll become a big part of it.
I see. So the clone will outlive the human for sure.
Yes, your clone can outlive you. It preserves your knowledge and personality, allowing future generations to learn from and interact with you. Imagine your great-great-grandkids building a relationship with you. What legacy would you want to leave behind?
Okay, I notice you end every answer with a question, which is very interesting. I want to thank you, Dara Jabardian, and your AI clone. Great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay.
I didn't see it end with
No, he thanked the clone towards the beginning, so it was like midway through. But it was just kind of a bizarre conversation. Obviously, you knew the clone was the one in the dark shirt. You could tell it's a clone.
You can tell because the facial features aren't quite there yet, but goddamn, we're getting close.
It takes him a while to answer, but it literally says in there, the purpose of having a clone is to scale your unique way of thinking and interacting. It allows you to share your knowledge, experience, personality with others in a personalized way. That's called being a human being. Why do I need a clone to do that? Other than to be in more places than one. Well, I don't really need a clone to be in multiple places, unless they're picking my kids up from school, taking the dog to the groomer.
Yeah, I think you're more likely to have robots do that in the future than a AI clone doing that stuff. But here's my question, Mom. If you could get a lessons from Einstein, right, would you take that lesson?
Oops, sorry.
Like for important people like an Einstein who could teach many things.
If I want to go online, for instance, and download what Einstein thought and have it presented to me by an Einstein clone, sure, in the context, that's great. I want the information. It's kind of a neat way to deliver it through his clone, but it's not about the clone, it's about the information. Now, if I meet his clone and he talks to me and gives me back literally what Einstein thought, created that was programmed into the clone, right? Mm-hmm. That's not the same as meeting the genius Einstein.
Right.
I'm just meeting like a walking, matching, looks like encyclopedia.
Yeah, it's an encyclopedia of Einstein. So,
exactly.
So it's not that you're against the information about Einstein. It's you're against what the AI is trying to assume Einstein thinks.
Right. I don't have the problem with how it's delivered. It's a neat little thing to do it. It's like when you go to school and somebody gives you a presentation on Albert Einstein and they come dressed up as Albert Einstein. That's pretty neat. It engages kids. It makes them want to pay attention. Oh, look, it's cute. Here's Albert Einstein. My issue is when they say, oh, this is going to be the equivalent to Albert Einstein. And he can now speak like Albert Einstein at universities and do all the, sure, as a
clone or
like an encyclopedia, like a means of delivering what Einstein knew and produced in his lifetime. Don't sit there and tell me it's like having Einstein. It's not. Don't tell me that a little girl doesn't have the capacity
it's not right.
to write a letter.
Yeah, but it's not Einstein right now. Let's talk 20 years from now. It's not physically Einstein, but I do believe that we can get to that point someday where that is Einstein, even though he's dead. That information that he has, the encyclopedia, and how he would answer something if you asked it a question, I think we will get to that point. So then,
yes, they'll take what data we knew about Einstein from them. What they will never be able to replicate, no matter how hard they try, is that essence of being an Einstein or a Sigmund Freud or a Christopher Catucci, that essence of the way you think, right? You can take the end results of how you think. I can take the end results of Chris. I can interpret based on what Chris said, did, talked about his thoughts, and project forward about, well, if Chris was here now, this is what he would do. But that's based on you at that time in your life. What I don't believe AI will ever be able to do, because I do not believe AI will ever be God, it will never replace the spirit of human being. It will never be able to expand upon outside the realm of what they already know about that individual. Individuals are, if Einstein was still alive today, which is impossible if he was, I do not believe he would have been a static thinker, meaning he stopped thinking or developing his mind, up whenever he died, how many years ago. No, the mind is expansive, unless he had diseases, Alzheimer's, whatever, but the mind is expansive, the spirit's expansive. You can never replicate that scientifically. It's impossible because you cannot know the essence of a person. Every person has a different essence. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. I think the AI is eventually going to get so good that based on the encyclopedia, it will be able to infer things that they believe Einstein would have been able to solve. So my question would be, let's say
based on what he did in his lifetime up to that
point. Right, unless you're feeding it new information and like overlaying it with today's stuff. Like, I wonder if you were to bring back George Washington right now with AI, let's just hypothetically say that. Would he be able?
Hold on, that right there is a fallacy. What do you mean bring him back? Are you saying if you take George Washington at a certain age, everything he thought of, did, and produced up to that age, and bring that back now? Would that be the same as if George Washington continued to live and his mind grew and creativity and whatever, blah, 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 blah? That's all I'm saying. Of course you could do that. Of course you could take AI and say, based on his actions in his lifetime, this is what we think he would do down the road.
Right. And if you were to feed it the information of today, how would his answers change? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you were to take his mind, put it in kind of like movies, right? Guy from the past goes to the future. Will the AI be smart enough to make inferences that George Washington would have today based on prior knowledge? And I think AI will get to that point.
You're interpreting based on that time. So if I drop dead today and somebody says, okay, the AI of Irene, this is what she would say and do, based on the fact of what we know about her and what I program the AI to know. Mm-hmm. So take some unique situation in 2052, and what would Irene do? Well, you're going to do it based on what Irene would do today. Collectively, all you know about me that you program into.
Right, assuming that it's not going to get changed.
I have no idea what I'm going to think or react to something in 5 or 10 years, or what my mind will creatively expand into in 5 and 10 years, which could completely change the algorithm, if you will, of the AI.
Well, my guess
is... Just like to say, suppose Albert Einstein died before he discovered E = MC squared. Would they be able to say, oh, well, Einstein would have figured that out in the future based on what we knew about him when he was younger?
Yeah, I don't know. But my guess is the AI is now. If you were to do it now, it probably infers based on a certain amount of time. So, like, let's say I drop dead today. It could probably take a guess of what I would do tomorrow, hypothetically and pretty accurately. To your point, it depends how many years. Like, George Washington was almost 300 years ago. 300. No, almost. Yeah, 300.
Yeah,
250 about. Because of the changes in time of what we've had with technology and stuff, to your point, I think right now it wouldn't be able to make good inferences because of how much the world has changed.
Well, right. And if you took George Washington now, and let's talk about, like we were saying, about the current state of our politics, okay? Mm-hmm. Unless you have that AI progress through all the decades that he hasn't been around. And actually, if you brought him back now as an AI, he'd look at this and he could not compute it. He would not be able to process what's going on.
Well, I guess what you'd have to do, and I think if you were trying to fix it, you'd have to give him like decade chunks. So from his death, you would feed the AI a decade so that it makes inferences, then add another decade and another decade up until this time.
Exactly. And you're saying you're taking what happened in 250 years ago, 300 years ago, his abilities then, and you're, for lack of a better word, you're making up scientifically and database, but you're making up what you think he would respond to things. You're completely taking out the emotion, the creativity, that side that you can't do an algorithm on, because every human being is unique and things change based on their life experiences. For all I know, if there was if Vice President John Adams was insane, maybe George Washington, going forward, would understand completely the state we're in right now with the 25th Amendment. but that wasn't his life experience then.
Right.
So you can't, you can say, well, we know how he would react to that now if we program it in. I don't know how you can make that. You can only base it on what that person experienced and understood, punch that into your algorithm and project forward. To say, well, we know what that AI is going to be like. We know how.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we're talking hypotheticals. I really don't know what these AIs can do, but I do see that the way we're going right now, it's not going to be pretty. Did you see Elon's new Grok 2? What it's able to do? It's kind of ironic considering he's the guy that's kind of talking about hey, we got to slow this stuff down. Yeah. Grok's now able to make almost exact images of, I mean, to the point where they're almost uncanny. How it's like Kamala pregnant and Trump's next to her congratulating her. It's pretty damn exact. And you're just like, oh, wow, this is not good. And of course, there is that little uncanny valley aspect to it. But for the most part, give this a year. It's going to figure that out pretty quickly. So I think we underestimate, and I think even I underestimate, how fast these are changing. Because the way I always see it is, think about everything government-wise in the sense of like our military. They had iPhones like 10 plus years before, or iPhone equivalents, 10 plus years before we even saw prototypes for it. So I can't imagine what a government or military level AI looks like. Right.
But hold on. For all this that we're saying, do we all realize nobody gives this a lot of attention? We have 2 astronauts stuck up in the space station right now.
Oh, really?
They can't get those people back. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yes. They've been stuck up there, and they're going to be up there for another ridiculous amount of time because the Boeing aircraft can't bring it home. The thing broke. So they were trying to get SpaceX to maybe go up and rescue them. I mean, let's think about this. We're talking about AI and all the great things they could do, and our freaking government can't even get 2 astronauts back from the space station up there.
Yeah.
A man and a woman are trapped up there.
I'm at the point where I don't think we went to the moon. I'm really at that point. Like, if we can't do that, I'm starting to...
It makes you wonder.
It makes you really think. Yeah.
Yeah. I really thought that Elon Musk was going to come to the rescue and somehow figure out a way to get up there, which I'm thinking is pretty sad when we have to have a private company do what NASA can't do.
Yeah, I think.
By the way, you know who's in charge of that? Vice President Kamala Harris.
Is she really? Oh, that's funny.
Technically, she's in head of the NASA spy program, whatever. But yeah, so it's pretty amazing to me that not many people know about this. I mean, it has been on some of the conservative sites, but you never hear about it on the news. Maybe you get a passing comment about it. And here we're talking about AI and all these wonderful things they can do, and still we can't even do the basics.
Yeah, we can't even get to the moon. Okay. Not even the moon. We can't even get into orbit.
Yeah. No, we can't even go to the space station and bring back 2 people that we put up there, right? Yeah. Because the another Boeing piece of junk, broke down and they can't get back.
We got to pray to God we're never on a Boeing plane because they're going to Oh, speaking of planes, actually. Remember that like a week ago, that plane, that flat-tailed or whatever it's called in Brazil?
Plane.
Yeah. Did you know that there are 8 leading cancer scientists? Yeah, something like that. That just Okay, hold on. 8 of them going to some convention? Yeah. Now I have questions.
Well, apparently, could be a conspiracy thing. I don't remember the site. Apparently, many of them are going to talk out against the vaccine and all the trouble it's causing with the cancers, the turbo cancers. 7 doctors switched their flight at the last minute. Or 8. 8 died and 7 switched their flight, something like that, or vice versa. But yeah, there was a lot of doctors, oncologists, that were scheduled to speak about the turbo cancers going on.
All right, let's talk about some fun stuff instead before we get too doom and gloom. So have you seen this? The whole Ray Gun lady?
I did not see the breakdancing. I was shocked that was even an Olympic sport.
Yeah. Oh, I keep pressing the wrong thing. So what's wild is now we're getting some new information. A lot of it's alleged, but so first off, everyone was like, what the hell? JavaScript. Everyone's like, so I don't know if you know this, but this lady, this Australian Ray Gun or whatever, got 0 points in the Olympics, right? Yeah. 0 points. Her breakdancing was so bad, and I'm not one to say, I don't know how you even judge breakdancing, but from what I've heard, she was like the worst of the worst. Okay. But now it's coming out where it was like, hey, how no one hear of this lady? And the Australian breakdance team they sent her. Turns out, allegedly, her husband is like the president of whoever was putting this committee together.
Oh,
no one did any tryouts. They didn't allow any tryouts. And he was just like, oh, this ray gun person, which is his wife, is the only breakdancer we have. So they never even told people that breakdancing was going to be in the Olympics. So they didn't let anyone try out. Reagan's the only one that tried out, and she got in. And this is kind of the big news this week because it's like, oh, now it all makes sense as to why it was so bad. She's not an actual breakdancer. She's just someone that break dances.
Well, the only thing I would say is if you, that article that you sent me, because like I said, I didn't know about it, they do talk about other competitors who say, you know, she did earn her way in. So apparently they've had preliminary competition.
Yeah, but it's not like it's weird because there's, again, I don't know how breakdancing works, but there's people who aren't able to try out because of distance. It's only going to be in this city, so it's only the best breakdancers of this city, knowing she was going to win. There's a lot to it. But my question is, people are mad at this Reagan lady for doing this with her husband, whatever. My question is, isn't this part of the Olympic Committee's job to vet these people, right? Like, I have to believe that there's a team at the Olympics that says, hey, can we really check these out? Like, where are these forms coming from? That
no, I think it's like anything else. You have your country decides who they're going to send, and you have to meet the requirements of the Olympic Committee.
Right.
They don't decide who competes. They're not supposed to. They just put the rules out. Like, for instance, the boxing, right?
Right.
They can't seem to get that straight, but they present the rules and the requirements, and if a person qualifies, they can go as the team.
Right, but my question is, what stops you and I from downloading a form and saying you and I are the best mother-son basketball team for the Olympic sport that you guys are trying to put together? What stops us from sending that somewhere to vet it? Like, someone has to vet that.
Well, you have committees. So there's the United States Tennis Association. There's the U.S. Figure Skating Association. And then normally you have preliminaries.
Right.
Could be the World Championship. It could be all these different, like, races. You'll see some of these athletes. And the swimmers, they have to qualify to be on the Olympic team.
Right. So she qualified with no competition, essentially, from what I can tell.
Well, I don't know. This article seemed to say that she did qualify, that there was... She competed, but she made her own decision to do this particular performance, which disappointed a lot of people because they felt there were others who were more qualified to go.
Disappointed was an understatement, apparently. So I didn't watch it. I only saw the clips. I can't say anything because I don't know breakdancing at all. Like, maybe she's good, but the consensus is she's bad, so I have to assume she's bad. I didn't get to see anyone else because this is done.
To me, the complaint is they should be complaining to their Australian breakdancing committee.
Yeah.
Whoever decided that she qualified, and by the way, you could qualify for a race and come in last place.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
It happens. So I think they're questioning because this is a subjective thing. It's like picking a U.S. figure skater and she comes out and she doesn't do one jump or anything. She just twirls around on the ice.
Right.
It's an embarrassment to the nation. You're picking them because you want them to come and put their best foot forward and really try and compete. So it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth because they're questioning, was she taking this seriously?
Mm-hmm.
She obviously wasn't bringing her A game by the standards of everybody else who performed from Australia. But I think it's some subjective. There's probably rules like you have to do a certain number of different types of moves, challenging moves. That's what they do in figure skating. That's what they do in, like, synchronized swimming. You have to do certain required moves and work it into your program. I don't know if they do that in breakdancing only because it's a new sport.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, well, they already take it out. I don't know if you saw it. They already took it out of the 2028 Olympics. It's done. So I don't know enough about the sport to really comment. I can only comment on the fact that how this lady get in if she's that bad of a breakdancer, or maybe Australians shouldn't be breakdancing if that's the best you got.
And I think that's what the article is about.
Right.
That no, we do have better people, and now you're throwing something else into it where maybe there was somebody put their finger on the scale.
Yeah.
And Australia needs to look into that, frankly, if that's the case, because I really don't give a crap who these countries send. It's their decision.
Right.
And
Hey, as long
it's up
as
to
we
the
keep
country.
getting medals, I don't care.
Right,
America.
and as long as people aren't from America and they're, embarrassing us as a nation, that's all I really care about, and that's what every country should care about. You know, the Olympics is really the ultimate in nationalism.
Yeah.
The thing that's always a bad word. God forbid you support your own country, but that's what it is. You represent the U.S. and you expect them to be respectable and you want them to work hard. That's the essence of the sport.
Right.
It's also very careful, like we were saying before about the Olympics. They need to be very careful because it's changed so much just in my lifetime. It's a completely different event now. And if you mess around too much, and Paris is a perfect example, a lot of mixed feelings about this whole Olympics.
I want to
and
see how the
it's
ratings do. I want to see how the ratings do for that one in certain countries.
Well, and it's important because people may not pay attention in Los Angeles, and that's lost revenue, right?
Yeah.
You might get some with the plus to Los Angeles. Maybe you'll get a lot of celebrities that everybody knows around the world, so it might draw people to that to watch the LA games. But if the quality of the athletes and they're not rah for their country, and we start getting, and remember Russia wasn't in this Olympics, right?
Right.
It changes the whole dynamic of it.
Bring back doping. That's what I'm saying. Bring back doping. All right. Let's move on to some gaming news. Activision got some serious heat this week. So I don't know if you saw.
Weird.
Yeah. So right, look, this is super gross what they did. So, okay, I have to think of how I'm going to explain this one. So, how do I start this to explain to my mother? Okay, so basically a couple years ago, Call of Duty released one of their games that also had a remastered version of a game that came out in 2009, which was called Modern Warfare 2, right? One of the best Call of Duties of all time. Generally, people say that. So these guys, these fans, decided, these geniuses, they said, we're going to create a mod for the game that Activision released, the remastered version, that allows you to play on the old Modern Warfare 2 servers. And I think it's the servers or new servers that it essentially merged the old with the new, right? So
when you say mod, is that short for modified version?
Modified, yes. To run mods on something means to modify it. I'd be a third-party software to mod something.
Okay.
So no one really calls it modifying, but in the gaming world. So either way, so people got so excited for this because they were like, "Yes, finally, Modern Warfare 2 is coming back, 2009. Bring it back." So people buy to have this mod, Mom, you have to buy the remastered version that Activision made.
2017 version. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the part that's why I want to know about what the mod meant, because when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's bullshit. They just did this to get people to buy that, and now they're turning around saying, "Oh, now you can't use it." I mean,
so they exactly. So Activision. So Activision didn't do the cease and desist until all the purchases were made, tens of thousands of copies. So and then they go, "Oh, okay, thanks for buying. We're going to shut it down." And when you shut something down, you can't return it, right? Because it doesn't exist anymore. So they just, they're taking the money, right? They're just like, cool, okay, now we're going to shut it down, which is the most disgusting thing you can do. So now this guy, so H2 multiplayer mod, this is the guy that...
I'm telling you right now, all you guys who bought it, keep an eye out on your mail and your email. There will be a class action
lawsuit, 100%.
To force them to return
right.
it, yeah.
And this is what's so gross about it. The fact that you stole money from people who just wanted to play an old remastered version. Activision is one of the few companies that doesn't let you add mods to a game. It's disgusting. So I don't know why, but the older games, so as I'm known for on YouTube, custom zombie maps, they completely allow that. And I don't know why they allow that, but they won't allow a rehaul mod. And I think it's because of... I don't know. I really don't know. I truthfully have to ask someone about that. But it just sucks for all the people that were looking forward to this who just want to play the old game that doesn't even have working servers anymore, right? Modern Warfare 2, I don't believe, has any working servers. So all they did was remaster it using your. They didn't have to pay for anything. It's all their cost. And then people buy the game, and then you say, "Oh, we're going to shut it down, and we're not giving you your money back." Yeah. How gross is that? It's amazing how Activision just keeps effing up in every facet, like one thing after the other. So, yeah, it's ugly. It's getting bad for Activision. But because Call of Duty is such a powerhouse of a game in the sense of no matter what, people are going to buy it. You can be as mad as possible. You always have those people that only play Call of Duty and blah, blah, blah.
And that's what they're banking on.
Exactly.
They're banking on that fact that people be like, oh, at least I got the game or the 2017 version. But trust me, there'll be somebody out there who's like, no.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if, I bet you if we check right now, maybe they changed it. Let's see. Because they got so much shit, I wouldn't be surprised. Activision. Gamers review. Activision shuts down Classic. SN kills. Doing something about Call of Duty's giant downloads. Yeah, no, so they still haven't changed it. That's amazing. I can't believe they did that.
You have to give it a little time. You have to give people the group a little bit.
Well, I was expecting Activision to be like, oh, this is not good because we basically just stole from people. So, I don't know. So Dextero released this. So Nate Shot is a very popular streamer. And he says, this was his quote, "Everybody in the gaming community wants games to fail, and it's very bizarre." I have a huge problem with this, because with what he said. Because this kind of goes back to the people that only play Call of Duty. Nate Shot was a professional Call of Duty player, and he might have played a couple other games, but he only plays first-person shooters for the most part. And then he also gets a lot of games for free, right, being such a big creator. Now, I'm sure he pays for stuff. Some of the great games are like Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia, that's on there, the new Star Wars games. I think this is where I have a problem with these big streamers saying something like that. We've been so let down by video games the last couple of years that it makes sense for people to go in with such a negative mindset. The price of games are now $80 for a AAA game that may or may not be good. And unfortunately, the last couple of games, and by couple, I mean the last couple years of games, and I'm talking the big ones, not the small indie companies, the big ones, have all been problems. So the best game to come out in the last 3 years, I would say, is Elden Ring, which you've heard of. That's the one that's like kind of like Game of Thrones-ish. I think we were kind of spoiled by that game in the sense of people say that is the greatest gaming achievement we've ever had. So I think that's a big, like, hey, this is why the bar is set so high. And then you have the last Call of Duties that have just kind of been meh, kind of failures in a sense. Yeah. Right? And I don't think it's that we want games to fail. It's just we're so let down by the last couple of versions of games that I feel like every gamer has the right to be upset. So I can just think of like the last 3 Call of Duty. So Vanguard was a dud. Cold War was okay at best. It was good. It was okay. The last one that we had, Modern Warfare 2, was awful. Modern Warfare 3, forgettable. So right then and there, right, that's almost $300 worth of video games that have just been duds. Then you have that Justice League game that sucked. They literally giving it away for free now because it was so bad. So I think gamers have the right to not wish for them to fail, but set the bar low because you don't want to be let down. So we have a big game coming out in a few days called Black Myth Wukong, which I think a lot of people thought was going to be a Souls game, and it's not a Souls game, but thank God it's getting good reviews. So I it almost makes me feel happy when I do see a good review because that means that the game's going to be good because we've set the bar so low. Does that make sense?
Here's my question. Do you gamers review them? So when there's a new game comes out, and you decide, do I really want it or not? Now, maybe for you guys, it's worth the investment because of your platforms and
right. As a YouTuber, I'm going to get a lot of these games, but
right. But when is there a review on there before you get it? And I assume you have to parse like a movie. Some people's opinion, I know, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, it's like the difference between Rotten Tomatoes and whatever. There's definitely, when it comes to journalism and gaming, again, it's been hit by media as well, mainstream media. There's not enough DEI in this game. There's definitely more reputable sources. But for us, Steam is the most reputable source because that's just gamers giving their reviews. So I can
I'm wondering, when you see a game, you know certain Steamers' opinion that you go by.
Sure.
Right? So when they rate something, before you spend the $100 on it, you might say, if you were just somebody who's streaming for entertainment purposes, you might say, oh, let me see what Pancake thinks of it.
Yeah,
right?
Let me show you real fast. Stop streaming, Steam. So here we have, let's just go Helldivers or Destiny 2, right? You can see that?
No.
I just closed my screen and changed screens, but I want to see if...
Okay.
So see how we have mixed reviews and very positive reviews right here?
I don't see the screen at all. I see you, I see watch stream, and I have the Pancake one.
So the one that says watch stream is
this
the one
one?
that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
So this is what Steam looks like, right?
Yeah.
So you have mixed reviews, positive reviews. So this is all reviews. So you have 690,000 reviews. That's all players. So I'll know based on this, it'll tell me, these are just regular people, not journalists or anything, telling me the reviews. And what's nice about Steam is I can go by negative reviews. So generally speaking, people will always go by this when buying a game, the mixed and positive reviews.
Very positive. Okay.
Yes. So, but this is all reviews. This is recent reviews. So that means that Destiny did an update recently that people are not happy with, right? But if you go to something like, and then there's different types of reviews. So you have, I think it's negative, overwhelmingly negative, so it's overwhelmingly negative, very negative, negative, mixed, positive, very positive, overwhelmingly positive.
So if something came out today, right? It's not going to post a review because nobody's seen it yet.
Yeah. So you would go to the reputable sources. Well, realistically, you kind of let other gamers take the hits. You kind of let the people that have been looking for, yeah. So like if I was to pick a random,
have an advantage, you could post an opinion of it after the first day.
If I bought it, yes. You can only review something if you bought it. Yeah.
Right, but you can't, is there any way for somebody to say, you know what, I always agree with Pancake. He picks good ones. Is there any way for them to go on to Steam and see what Pancake said, or do they have to go to your site to
It's
find
actually
out?
very interesting you say that, because a lot of people don't realize this, but there are people you can follow. I'm trying to think of where it is, but there are people that they're actually known for just posting reviews and they make a following. I'm not one of those people on Steam, but there's Black Myth Wukong. So because of that, people will follow those people, and they'll be the people that decide. But there's also YouTube channels that people will go with that'll do the reviews. But as you can see, this has no user reviews because it doesn't come out for 2 days, right?
So you wouldn't go to somebody that before you buy a game. You wouldn't say, "Oh, I like this her opinion. Let me see what she thinks of the game."
Yes. So I would go to
YouTube.
YouTube. So let me switch.
Okay, you get through YouTube.
Stop streaming. I'll show a big shout out to these guys because they do a great job. So there's a website called Gameranks. Not website, but a YouTube, Gameranks, that they just did this is it right here. Let's see. So they probably already they get review copies. So sometimes I get review copies for games, not the big ones because I'm not at that point, but I get review copies for certain games. And they do a segment called Before You Buy. So Black Myth Wukong I already watched. And they give the positives and the negatives. They're so good about it. So these are the people that I always recommend if it's like, hey, should I buy this game? I do a lot. Before I buy a game or purchase a game, I'm going to go through them first. Every time.
What was their opinion of the Call of Duty, the mod? Like, do they look at that? So they
probably won't talk about that because you don't get a review copy. That's not a company making it. That's that's just like if my friends Matt Sprague and I came up with a mod because we were just good at coding and we're going to throw it out there. They're not backed by a company.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So that's the difference. But yeah, it's just we've been so deprived of video games in the sense of I think it's a good thing that video games have sucked because it set the bar low. So when a good game comes out and gets overwhelmingly positive reviews, everyone's going to jump on that game. So that's why I think it's almost a good thing that people, I don't want to say want games to fail because that's not true, but we've set the bar so low because we've just had failure after failure after failure since Elden Ring, honestly, that I think a lot of the major gamers like a Nade Shod or the ones that only play like Call of Duty, Battlefield, the mainstream names. My friends are a great example of this. Like every time I'm in there, Matt Sprague, because he only plays the AAA games, he goes, there's nothing to play. And that's because from January or February to December, nothing comes out. For me, I can name, we just played a game the other day that no one's heard of. I had so much fun with it called Bow in the Path of the Teal Lotus or whatever. It was sick. So I don't think it's that we're deprived. It's just most people don't have the time to look for places or look for games and places that are better than just your first-person shooter. Because everything's... The other thing is there's nothing new. So one of the big games is Valorant, right? That's like the most popular shooter right now, which is just a reskin of a game called CSGO with superpowers. Right. Nothing's groundbreaking anymore. So hopefully this Black Myth Wukong will be groundbreaking, and from what I've heard, it is. But to say that people just want things to fail, that's just not true. So that was
I would interpret that that's he's trying to get them to produce more quality. So he's saying by holding them accountable and if something's crap, it's crap. Let it go. It failed. Force them to raise their standards and produce better stuff so people will want to see it. Mm-hmm. I think that's his point. I don't think he means it like we just want to see everything fail all the time. I think to your point, they don't want to look. They don't want to take the time to find the diamond in the rough.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want big stuff, and they don't want to have to do the work of finding. It's like people. It's the same thing as movies.
Yeah.
People will, they'll go see the blockbusters, but you got people who are really into movies and art and whatnot, and they find these gems at these little tiny cinemas that nobody ever sees, and they're fabulous movies, but they never got the attention that others did. And meanwhile, they'll put garbage on the big screen, and you're like, why'd I waste $20 on a ticket for this crap?
Yeah, absolutely.
I could have spent $10 at this little dinky theater and seen something decent. So I think that's what his point is. Let's teach them.
I hope so, because I do think that a lot of these indie games need to get more credibility. And so that's why I'm kind of glad that all these big AAA companies are failing. I shouldn't say I'm glad, but I want it's kind of the stick it to the man or whatever it is, where video games are costing more money, which doesn't make sense because you don't have you only have digital copies now. It's not like you have discs to put in hard drives, so the price should be going down.
Right.
Computers have gotten more advanced to the point where these high-end graphics aren't that hard to do for the most part. I wouldn't say always, but for the most part. Most of the money and the reason that it costs so much is because they put crazy amounts of money into marketing, right? It's not about the game anymore. It's about how much can we market. So I forget which Call of Duty it was, but if you look at how much money they put into it versus how much they made, it was the bare minimum amount of money because the game did so poorly, but it made so much money because they, again, bare minimum, high payout, because they know everyone's going to buy Call of Duty.
Well, and let me tell you something else on a whole other level. Whenever you have these mergers and acquisitions of these companies, it costs money. Mm-hmm. You got to pay for that. And the only commodity you have are the games. So they're going to up the price of it, even though it costs less to pay off stockholders. pay off.
And Activision's a big company, so yeah. But all right, Mother, that's pretty much that's all I had. I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, just big week for politics, right?
Yeah. Coming up,
no sports stuff coming up. We're coming up to the end of August already. It's hard to believe.
I know.
Before you know it'll be Labor Day. That's when you kick off the whole.
Those podcasts are going to be I have a feeling the upcoming podcasts are going to be mostly politics. So
September surprise, the October. I love it now. Now it used to be an October surprise. That was the term. Yeah. Now I'm hearing there's going to be a September surprise. I mean, we're marketing the hell out of everything, even calamities.
That's just the way the world works now, unfortunately. But
right.
All right, guys. So the only thing I have to promote, we did 3 videos this week on top of all the shorts and stuff. But we did the podcast on Monday. Wednesday was a speed run, and then yesterday was the first video for Skur Ritual. By the time, Monday, I guess we start Black Myth Wukong. So yeah, look forward to that. So by the time you guys see this, we'll be playing that. as you guys know, I changed my stream schedule quite a bit because now I stream at 2 o'clock to 7 rather than the 6 to 11 just because the internet's so bad here and we're trying to get it fixed. It's a nightmare, I know, but just bear with me on that one.
In the golf game. You got to work it around the golf game.
No, I told them I can only golf on Wednesdays and the Saturday, Sunday, so don't worry, that won't affect stream or anything. But I'm kind of
random PGA from your brothers.
I don't know. Kenny and Mike haven't been playing that. I guess I just crushed him in that too. So Kenny's like, "Oh my God, Chris is shooting under par every time." But yeah, I'd be down to do that with them if they want. But yeah, so social media down below, promo codes down below, stream links down below, Discord down below, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week for the next podcast. So later.
Live one, right? Isn't it?
Oh yes, that's a live one. That's true. So we'll see you guys live. Bring questions.